This next one,
Just gone out on orders.
I wrote it quite a while back.
It'll do.
It'll kind of speak for itself, I think. Truth be told, don't know too much about your love, but it seems a bit unfair to chuck someone under the bus for the crime of trying to grow up. If my mind had been privatised at age 9, I think I'd be a bit dysfunctional, and overtly sexualised the second your body started displaying the signs that grown men like. You grew up a paradox. Disney said kids and Hollywood said tits. I was a boy at a school desk when you got fit, but like the rest of the guys, I said I would hit it. But I wouldn't have hit it, I wouldn't have hit shit, because I was young, I was dumb, never hit it with anyone. You were the pin-up for a few years as I grew up. I was an innocent character babysitting at 14. You were an innocent character on the TV, and secretly, I didn't mind as much as I made out when the kids put on Hannah Montana. I rode my skateboard and listened to Metallica, so I can't say I ever bought too many of your CDs, but they would say Party in the USA would play at the parties I wasn't invited to, a 15-year-old sitting in his room wishing he was cool, but I can't hold that against you, and no one quite knew whether you were a blonde or a brunette, but no one quite knew anything. And between the sums and the sentences at school you were interesting, and at 16, when every facet of girls confused and deluded me, 7 things I hate about you gave an interesting glance into the female psyche, and I realised you were all pretty mad. The problem didn't lie with me. And before twerking or tweaking or whatever, I remember sneaking into nightclubs at 17, and one of my first misjudged, misfired kisses was to the tune of See You Again. Didn't see her after that. But these years of my life, as I forgot the plot and picked my spots and learned to drive and fell in love each night with whichever girl signed an X on her texts, I can't reject the fact that you were part of that soundtrack. And I've got an almost dog-like loyalty to defend that which defined me developmentally. Lots of the guys I grew up with don't radiate respectability, but if they got stuck, I'd have to help to the best of my ability. And Miley, on the frequency you played at our parties, I have to place you into this category. It seems a bit unfair for me to slag you when you never slagged me. When I got so drunk I could barely see and fell through the trees at the top of Niagara Gorge to be carried home by unimpressed police that crashed clumsily at my parents' disapproving feet. I didn't hear a peep out of you. And if now's your time to crash clumsily, I wish you peace to sleep it off. Across the Atlantic, the US has their own take on the English language. Mainly a keenness to do damage to words with unnecessary Z's as far as I can tell. Hey buddy, want a brewski? That'll be swell. But I realised with an S that I said the word slag a minute ago, which is a word some people might not get. In the UK, you'd say slag someone off meaning to criticise, but when used as a noun, a slag is also a girl that gets about town. And I imagine Miley Cyrus has heard her own variation of these words. Whether such things have been done to give validation to the terms is none of my business, and frankly, I would rather get pissed and tightrope between 2 cliffs over a crocodile pit than be the kind of person interested in such unremittent shit. I dread to think what's in a small text of a contract to work for the Disney Channel. I'd speculate as soon as she signed the dotted line that put her on a major American kids TV network in between cartoons, she was contractually obliged to become a proponent of family values. And if I was engaged at age 20 till death do part, I understand an almost desperate desire to show the world a last bit of arse before it goes off the market. Fuck it, I get it, I actually quite like it. But I think there should be a special level of hell reserved for the people that televise a child as soon as they can toddle, and then expect obedience having created a role model, which would be bad enough if these weren't then the people that buy, if not own, the magazines that pay photographers more than doctors to get photos of her at her worst. They build her up so they can knock her down and call her unstable. They have fatted her from the slaughter so they can discuss her weight. But I can't talk, because in my final year of school, I learned to talk, and some people even started to listen. And perhaps new friends went to my head, because it's easy to become arrogant when you've never been arrogant before. A friend and I stood on a makeshift stage at the graduation assembly and attempted to see how close to the bone we could be. But close to the bone remarks the surgery, and we butchered it. And trying and failing to be edgy, we cut a few people deeply, retrospectively, understandably. In the following weeks, in a couple of places, tear-streaked faces confirmed this reality. And in this lowest moment of mine, I was able to crawl under a rock unanimously. See, I know what it feels like to make mistakes on a stage, but I can't imagine having to witness replays and human stains in their basements thrown in their 2 cents on the internet. Well, people try to put us down just because we get around, but if you're talking about my generation, know that there are those of us stationed in the ranks capable of talking back. So before you lean back in your armchair, blank stare, receding hair, to turn on your TV and see Miley breaking apart, you break out laughing because she's making you money. You sell CDs and DVDs, your eyes been on her since she was 13 as an investment, because the people love to detest a teen dream turned nightmare. But you're skimming cream, what the fuck do you care? Is it something the Bahamas made? You've got it made. As it rains on her parade, you pray that rain turns stormy, so you get your E-True Hollywood story. Can't deny you're a clever man. Must be good money sacrificing lambs. I don't think chivalry is dead, but it may well be on life support. and MTV struggles to tote the plug from the wall because of the sickly, fickle fucking Facebook culture of cunts commenting, circling gossip vultures as came in like a wrecking ball. Miss Cyrus, you may not be at your finest, but I've always quite liked you. I'm not going to hate you because I've been told to. So troop through power to you. Like whatever inanimate objects you choose to.